Do you ever hear yourself saying, nothing's changing here, it's like Groundhog Day. How many times have I got to tell you? I'm not making any impact here at all. Here are a couple of stories from the garden that can help to understand the natural process of change and how to balance boundaries and freedoms to give children the chance to thrive and grow strong on their own terms. Making change is like sowing a seed. You put the seed in the ground, and what do you see happening? It looks like nothing. For ages sometimes, for days, maybe weeks, even months, nothing is showing above the surface of the soil. But what is happening underneath, where we can't see? The seeds that germinate put down their roots first, and only when they're securely anchored do they put up the shoots that we see above ground. If we got impatient to see if anything was going on, what would happen if we dug around in the soil to check? You'd probably kill the seed and its new fragile root just before it was about to break the surface. And this is what the beginnings of change can be like for people too. Tiny, fragile and unseen to others. You need patience and to trust that stuff is definitely changing, even if you cannot see it happening on the surface yet. Nothing stays the same for long. Life just isn't static. It's in a constant state of change.
That's a helpful analogy. I've worked with children who can't sleep and who then have quite extreme anxiety because they're so tired a lot of the time. We work together to remember the times that they did sleep well, and we think about the detail of that. And I might see these children over several weeks, just talking and drawing and remembering. At first, I'd be disheartened when parents told me that the children weren't sleeping any better. Then, after several weeks, I would get feedback about how things had changed and sleep had returned. I had sown the seed with the children that they could sleep because they had in the past, and it had taken a few weeks for that knowledge to sink in and for their behaviour around sleep to change. The children who regressed back to not sleeping turned out to be with parents who had slipped out of the habit of reminding their children that they could do it. So, it's important to remember that seeds of change are small and delicate and very active, even though we can't see that in the early stages. And also that once those seeds grow into plants, they need to be kept watered and fed if we want them to keep growing.
Another story that's really helpful is about staking trees. This is a story about how much support is helpful, not too much and not too little. We all need some help and support at times, and as we've said before, the most helpful thing is to have someone stand alongside us rather than try to push us or lead us and try and fix us. So let's think about a young tree and the stake that we might put in next to it to support it as it gets established. Now, young trees grow their strong root system in response to the stresses they experience in the wind and the elements of our varied weather. They do have to be allowed to experience some of that to build up their own resilience and strength. As the top of the little tree sways in the wind, the roots respond by anchoring deeper and wider into the soil. So if the stake that we put in is too big, if it holds the tree rigid and still, it doesn't grow strong enough roots of its own. And if we took the support away, it would fall over at the first big gust of wind. We'd make the tree dependent on an outside support forever, and it would never truly become a tree in its own right. On the other hand, if the stake is too small while the young tree is still developing its own root system, it doesn't stand a chance and the support is useless. It doesn't fulfil its function to protect the young tree until it can safely stand on its own. But having the right size stake gives the sapling the chance to grow wide, strong, deep roots. So in time, when we take the stake away, it can stand strong with what it has built for itself, because it was allowed to experience some stresses, but not so much that it was overwhelmed when small.
Maintaining hope in all of this is vital. We have to trust the process. We have seen the power of these approaches in our day-to-day life, at work and at home. We can vouch for them working. But you need resilience, and you need to be persistent and determined and look after yourself in the process. Keep on reminding people that they are good enough and help them understand what their needs are. keep on doing the same for yourself. Avoid trying to fix people by giving them advice on what has worked for you or for other people, unless you're asked for some examples. And let children learn and grow by taking some responsibilities without doing everything for them. Otherwise, they will likely struggle and fall when you're not there to support them.
So change doesn't happen in a straight line at a predictable pace as much as we'd like it to. There are always surprises on the way. And like going to the gym, both lasting change and the building of sound relationships mainly happen as a result of repeating small daily acts over and over, rather than single big acts or gestures.
Using the ideas we've shared with you and practicing whenever you can is how new habits and new behaviours become part of your family. What you do every day in small and repeated ways is what will make the difference now and when you work alongside specialist services. We hope these films will help you make the changes that you want to see for you and your family.